Hey everybody, I'm Chef Tom with atbbq.com, and this is Grandma's Sour Cream Coffee Cake. Well, if you're watching this video as it's released, I want to wish you a Merry Christmas. I hope you're spending some downtime with your family, your friends, your loved ones. And in the spirit of that vibe, today we are cooking up a family recipe. It's actually my wife's grandmother's sour cream coffee cake recipe, which has always been a hit at family gatherings, and it's perfect for Christmas brunch. So let's do some baking. So we're gonna start with our sugar and butter. We're using the creaming method here. 1 cup of sugar, 1 stick of butter. Put it on the stand mixer with the whisk attachment. We're gonna whip this until it's light and fluffy. So we're gonna finish getting all of the rest of the ingredients ready. As the butter and sugar are whisking together, we're gonna take 2 cups of all-purpose flour, add a teaspoon each of baking powder, baking soda, and 3/4 of a teaspoon of kosher salt. Mix all of our dries together. And then right next to that here, we're gonna mix all of our wets together. So we're starting with a cup of sour cream. I'm gonna add to that a 1/4 cup of maple syrup and a teaspoon of vanilla extract. Give that a good mix. So as we build this cake, we're gonna alternate our wet and dry ingredients. But before we get to that, we're going to add our eggs. All right, you can see we're starting to get that light and fluffy texture. Just gonna scrape down the sides here a little bit, and then we're gonna start to add our eggs one at a time. Make sure everything's incorporated, all that stuff that we scraped down. We can turn it down just a little bit. We're gonna drop in 1 egg at a time and wait until it's fully incorporated before we add the next. Up just a little bit higher. There we go. So that's looking nice and creamy. Eggs are fully incorporated. Now we can start to add in our dries and wets. We're gonna turn this down to a lower speed. And I'm gonna start with my dries, adding about half of those dries in. Just wanna see those get completely hydrated. Then we'll go ahead and add our wet ingredients, our sour cream, maple syrup, vanilla. And before we add the second half of the dries, I'm just gonna give this another good scrape. Make sure that everything's mixing evenly. All the way down to the bottom. And then the rest of those dry ingredients. Now this just needs to mix until everything kind of comes together. We certainly don't want to overmix it, start to make our cake tougher than it needs to be by over agitating it. Give it one more scrape and another quick spin, and that's it. So now the other crucial component to our coffee cake is the cinnamon sugar crumble, which we're going to layer in. So we're going to start with a 1/2 cup of brown sugar. Then we're gonna do a 1/4 cup of white sugar. We're gonna have a whole symphony of sugar textures and purposes here. The last being our maple smoked turbinado sugar, also 1/4 cup. These each have different textures. They have different amounts of molasses in them. They all act just a little bit differently, but really like the moisture from the brown sugar that adds a lot to this coffee cake. Last, we've got our cinnamon. So I'm gonna shake this up just to get it all distributed. And we are ready to assemble in the pan. Now we're gonna build this coffee cake in layers, starting with the batter on the bottom. Then we're gonna do a layer of the cinnamon sugar and repeat that one more time. So we're gonna start with a 1/2 size foil pan, hit it with some pan spray. Then I'm just gonna estimate about half of this batter in here. And using a wet spatula, I can kind of spread that to the edges. It's gonna look like a thin layer, but this cake puffs up quite a bit as it cooks. And it doesn't have to be perfect. A little variance in those layers is not a bad thing. So we'll take about half of our cinnamon sugar now, sprinkle it right over. So this is going to be that sweet and gooey layer right in the middle. But all this sugar is going to kind of melt into everything. Whereas this next layer is going to get the sugar on top that kind of gives it the texture, a little bit of crunch on the very top. Same thing here, just going to spread this out to the edges. So now we've got that final layer of the cinnamon sugar. So that's it, super simple. We're ready to go to the grill. So today we're baking on the Yoder Smoker's YS640S pellet grill. We're running it at 375 degrees with pecan pellets. I expect this to take about 45 minutes. We're gonna slide this right on top. I'm gonna set a timer for about 22 minutes, half the time I expect this to take to cook, so we can spin this just to make sure it's baking evenly. So 45 minutes now, you can see how it's pulling away at the edges. We do the toothpick test right here in the middle. Comes out clean, so we're ready to pull this off. I'm giving the coffee cake about 15 minutes to cool down, but this is really best served warm, so we're gonna go ahead and slice into it now. So we're gonna go 12 pieces. Go ahead and platter it up. Boy, look at that. There's our layer. See, that's the ooey gooey. On top, we got the crunchy. All right, let's get a bite. Pure comfort. Super tender, super moist, great crunch on top. Pairs perfectly with the coffee. It's a family tradition, and it's a delicious one. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to check out atbbq.com for all the products featured in today's video. If you enjoy the recipe, hit that subscribe button, and if you have any questions or comments or there's anything you'd like to see me cook, let me know in the comment section down below, and let's be good to one another. For more recipes, tips, and techniques, head over to atbbq.com/thesauce. All things barbecue, where barbecue legends are made.